اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله الأعظم روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Thank you for joining in. The topic for today, honesty with Allah. When we look at our relationship with Allah, we will see that it could either be honest or it could be dishonest. Allah describes both these type of characteristics and characters in the Quran. Not only does He describe it, but also tells us of the ending of such characters. Now, one place Allah speaks about those who are truthful with Him and honest with Him. By honesty, we mean being candid, being straightforward, not playing games, not being sneaky, not trying to be a con, where you're trying to hide things, or you're trying to lie or deceive. By being honest, it means just be straightforward, be who you are, talk to Allah, and when you say something to Allah, try to fulfill it. So Allah speaks of these people. The word that's used in the Quran is known as sadiqun. In this ayat of the Quran, Allah says, Ulaika humus sadiqun. They are truthful. They are honest in their dealing with Allah. When they deal with Allah, they do not play games with Allah. They're not sneaky. They don't try to lie or deceive. They are just candid and honest and straightforward. So, taking that in mind, we see some of examples that Allah speaks about how they are candid and honest with them, in what ways. For example, Allah says, Yufuna bin nadhr, that these are people who fulfill their vows. When they make a vow with Allah, when they make a pledge with Allah, they fulfill that pledge. When they, for example, sit down and speak to Allah in their times of problems, in whatever predicament that they're going through, whatever pickle that they're in, they talk to Allah privately and they speak to Him and call out to Him and say, Allah, if you do this for me, if you help me in this time, if you find me a job, if you bring this to me, then in return for that, I will do this for you. Whatever it is, you make it out of your own choice, with your own option. Allah is not forcing you to do this. You made that commitment with Allah. So now, when Allah fulfills that, whenever He fulfills that, you have to see yourself. Did you do your part now? Did you fulfill your part of the deal? That Allah has done His part of the deal. Have you done what you have said you're going to do? If you have done it, then you are truthful. Then you are honest in your dealing with Allah. This is an example of Allah, how Allah gives it in the Quran. Or for example, He calls it amanat. He says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَأَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. He says, and those are the keepers of their trusts and their covenant. Meaning, if Allah gave you something to hold on to as a trust, or if people gave you something to hold on to as a trust, then those people, they keep that trust. They do not betray the trust. if they make a commitment with Allah, a covenant with Allah, a ahad with Allah, then they do not go back on that and they stick with that. Those who do, these people are known as people who are honest in their dealing with Allah. Allah in another ayat regarding Bani Israel says, وَأَوْفُوا بِأَهْدِي وَأُوفِي بِأَهْدِكُمْ. He says, I will fulfill my trust with you, and you fulfill your trust with me. In other words, we made a deal, and you said something and I said something. I promised something, you promised something. So you keep your end of the bargain, I will keep my end of the bargain. And this is how Allah makes it known to us that when we, as a believer, have made the commitment of submitting ourselves to Allah and becoming a Muslim and saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, becoming a mu'min by saying Aliyun Waliullah. So whenever we made that declaration that we are a believer, it is actually a commitment we have made, a deal we have made with Allah. Allah speaks about this deal in Surah Tawbah. Let me read that ayat for you, in which Allah says, Inna Allah ishtara minal mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahumul jannah. That Allah has bought from the believers their nafs, meaning themselves, their person, and their wealth in exchange for jannat, for a heaven. Meaning that you now belong to Allah, and now Allah in return for that is going to give you everlasting life, everlasting happiness, everlasting and perpetual satisfaction. This is Allah's promise. And there we are asked that Allah says this is a promise binding on Allah. Wa'adan alayhi haqqan fit Tawrat wal Injil wal Quran. This is a promise that is binding on Allah, that He's going to fulfill it. It's my promise. Allah is saying it's my promise that I'm going to fulfill it. And there's no going back on that promise. That I will make sure that you go there. وَمَنْ أَوْفَى بِأَهْدِهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ. And who is more honest in fulfilling His promises than Allah? Allah takes it personally when He makes a commitment to a believer to fulfill that. And then in return for that, all He's saying is that the commitment you made to me, you fulfilled that. Our commitment to Allah in becoming a Muslim is that Allah, in this life, I will obey you, I will defend your deen, I will defend your religion, I will defend your cause. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in tansurullah yansurukum. Or you who believe, if you help Allah, Allah will help you. So this is a commitment that's being made. So you do your part in this life by going forward defending, Allah will do. And when you do that, you are honest with the commitment that you have made with Allah. Whenever you make an oath, my friends, making a commitment with Allah and fulfilling that commitment is a sign of your character, that you are truthful, that you are honest, that you are straightforward. It is a sign of character. And that's how characters are built, when you are honest in the pledges that you make. From the smaller pledges it starts. Those private pledges you make with Allah. Allah, if this happens, I will do this. Little things. And when we fulfill them, then Allah sees that itself, that action itself, that dedication, determination for fulfilling that is what builds our character. Let me give the example. Allah gives the example of Ahlulbait in the Quran regarding the vow that they made. It had happened, and let me tell you the story about it. It happened when Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein were toddlers and they were sick. The Prophet came to the house of Imam Ali and Fatima and saw that Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein are sick. So he suggested to Imam Ali that, why don't you make a oath with Allah, I pledge with Allah, that if your children become well and healthy, that you will fast for 3 days. Imam Ali made the oath with Allah that Allah, I will fast for 3 days if my children become well and healthy. And Bibi Fatima also she was in the house and she also made that oath. And Fidda, who was also in the house, she also made that oath. He said, yes, I want the children to be well, I will make the oath also. So everyone made the oath, and when Allah cured Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, and the time came for them to fulfill the fast, 3 days of fasting, so they started the fast. The first day went by, and as the first day went by, then what happened is that as they were about to eat the iftar, miskeen, a poor person, miskeen, from the word maskan, which means house. The reason it's called that is because a person who is so poor that his poverty has become his home. That means no matter wherever he goes, that's his home. He goes under the bridge, that's his home. He goes in a park, that's his home. Because his poverty has made his house wherever he is. That's why it's called miskeen. A person who is homeless, in other words, that we can call it, but that's the technical meaning of miskeen. So a miskeen came to the house of Fatima and knocked at the door at the time of iftar as they're about to eat. And so he said, asked for food, and Imam Ali gave his food. Bibi Fatima gave her food. Fidda and the children, all of them, they gave their food to the miskeen. They did not eat that day. The next day they fasted. Now, obviously, in those days, it's not like, for example, we made iftar, and if someone comes here and they eat our iftar, it's not like we call pizza, or we have something here. No. In those days, whatever they had that day is in iftar. That's it. There's nothing else that's hoarded somewhere. So when you give away your food, that's finished. It's over. And that night, they did not have food. They went to sleep. Next day, they fasted again. And the second day, when they were about to do iftar, again, another poor person came who was an orphan and asked for the food. And they gave the food away for the second day. Then the third day came, and now they're hungry for 2 days. And the third day they're fasting with hunger. And the time for iftar came, and again a poor person came. This time it was a prisoner who came there, who was poor, and he asked for food, and so they gave away their food. And when they gave away the food for the third night, 3 days of fasting they did without any food, then Allah revealed the ayat revealing the intention of Ahlulbait and showing that this is how a covenant, an oath, and a pledge is fulfilled. Allah says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. He said that they feed the food, they give the food out of the love of Allah, out of His love. Hubbihi, meaning out of the love of Allah. Meaning there is the most basic level is hubbut ta'am, love of food. Then above that is hubbul it'am, meaning the love of feeding. And above that is hubbullah, which is the love of Allah. And the lowest level, which is love of food, is basic instincts. That's what we all are. Instinctively, when we are hungry, we eat food. It's normal. There's nothing big about it. There's no greatness in it. But greatness is in feeding. So when you feed others, this is the love of feeding others. It gives you happiness. It makes you a better person, builds you as a person. This is greatness, and it's a quality that is good. And above that is to feed for Allah's sake. And when you can reach that level, which is the level of irfan, the level of marifat, the level of recognizing Allah and only Allah and nothing else, then you reach the level of the people who fulfill their commitments in the best way possible. So Allah gives this example of people who fulfill their commitment to Allah. Now, He speaks about this group of people. Now let me give examples of Allah speaking about people who are dishonest. Dishonest with Allah, who don't show honesty with Allah. Let's go through that. He says, Allah gives the example of people who are in trouble, in a problem. And He gives the example of people who ride on ships, who go out, that's their job, they go on the ship. He says, فَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ دَعَوُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. He says that when they get on the ship and the ship enters the ocean and they find themselves in the midst of the ocean, they call unto Allah sincere in religion. Sincere, you will see them, they're so sincere. Allah, calling on Allah, help us to get back, and you are the one, you are the one, you are the one. And then فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ, and when we bring them safely to the land, إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ, they forget Allah. They do shirk. They associate partners with Him. They give credit to others. لِيَكْفُرُوا بِمَا آتَيْنَاهُمْ, they are ungrateful for what we have given them. That is, they are kafir, ungrateful. They are ungrateful, really. So this is a sign of character, my friends. When you make a commitment with Allah and Allah gives you that and you do not keep your end of the bargain, that's when you enter the fold of kufr, being ungrateful. That is a sign of lack of character. Per people who do not have character. Fulfilling our oath means there is character. Not fulfilling our oath is a lack of character. And when someone has a lack of character, he owes. There's kafara for it. For example, when you break your vow and your nadhr that you did, then you have to pay. Feed 10 poor people, fast for 3 days, and also istighfar, asking for forgiveness. So this is dishonesty with Allah. Allah gives the example of dishonesty with the Prophet also. And in relationship to the people of Musa, Allah says this, that when the virus came on them, a plague, a virus that overtook everyone and scared everyone, and everyone was quarantined in their homes out of fear, people came to Musa and said, Musa, if you tell Allah to get rid of this virus from us, we will surely believe in you. If you can do that, if you can get rid of this virus, then we will surely believe in you. They made a commitment, a vow, that you pray to Allah to remove this plague, to remove this virus, to remove this disease that's killing us, that's scaring us, that's isolating us in our homes, and we will believe. So then Allah relieved them, got rid of the plague. He says, فَلَمَّا كَشَفْنَا عَنْهُمُ الرِّجْسَ, and when we remove the plague from them, what happens? إِذَا هُمْ يَنْكُثُونَ, they broke their promise. They broke their promise. You see, this is the lack of character. When you make a commitment and you break it, it shows that you do not have character. And it breaks you down. Even if you had character, the minute that you break an oath is when that character starts to break. It gets shattered. And when that shattering takes place, you slowly start to crumble. And then you break more covenants, more oaths, more pledges, until there's nothing left. And the other way is building character. Even if you don't have character, the first time that you fulfill your promise, you see that you build something inside of yourself. And then when you start fulfilling your oath and your promises, you see that your character starts building and building and building. This is how you go downwards and upwards. The secret is honesty with Allah. Honesty with the commitment you have made. Look in terms of imamat. In ghadeer-e-khum, when Imam Ali was officially announced as the successor of the Prophet, then Rasulullah made a tent and asked Imam Ali to sit there. And he asked the Muslims to line up and congratulate Imam Ali. The first people to congratulate him, the head of the line, always wanting to show themselves as the one at the head of the line, the elders, they went there and congratulated Ali and saying, Bakhin Bakhin ya Ali, congratulations, O Ali, you are the leader of the Muslims. So the first people to congratulate Ali were the first ones to break the promise. Yes. First come, first break. That's how they were. That's how these Muslims were. And they broke the promise. Imam Hassan, the people who made an oath of allegiance to him, a bay'at to him, were the ones who broke it. Imam Hussein, the people who made bay'at to him and made promises to him, were the people who broke the promises. This is a knock on their character. My friends, honesty with Allah is a sign that we have character. When we make a commitment to Allah, then fulfilling that commitment is a sign that we have character. And even if I am weak in my character, I want to build myself up, then make a commitment with Allah that I can keep and keep it. And you will see that that little remedy is going to help you to build your character up. I'm giving you a secret, my friends, and you can experiment with it. If you see that you are weak, and you are not strong at keeping promises, make a small promise with Allah, a commitment that you can keep. And when Allah does that, fulfill that commitment. You will see that it will start building you up and you start becoming stronger. We every day make a commitment with the Imam of our time. When we say Ajjalallah ala dhuhurik, that hasten your appearance, please come back to us. When we say that, we are making a commitment that when you come back, we will defend you and support you, and we will do all these things to you. But what happens? Believers who say that, a lot of them are going to turn against him. It says in riwayat that mu'mineen are going to come out of their masjids to fight the Imam. They'll come out of their masjids to fight the Imam. Why? Because, well, one of the things that the Imam is going to do when he comes back is that he's going to destroy a lot of masjids. He's going to destroy a lot of masjids. And why? Because those masjids have been made for the wrong reason. They've been made, for example, with haram money, or they've been made for disunity, or they're made for showing off, or they're made for tax write-offs. You know, a lot of centers are made for tax write-offs. Rich doctors, rich businessmen, they buy these masjids and they want to run the masjid just so that they can have a tax write-off. There's nothing happening there that's for Allah or for the truth. It's not standing for any Mazloom, and it's not standing against any zalim. Why? Because it's for tax write-off purposes. We don't get involved in those things. So someone has to break it down, and the one to break down those sort of masjids is Imam Zaman. Imam Mahdi is going to come back, and he is going to raise these masjids to the ground. It says Masjid al-Kufa also, which is built with haram money, is going to be raised to the ground, and he will build it up again. So this is something that we have to now take into account as to when we look at these things, when we make a commitment, when we say to the Imam that, Imam, please come back, then we have to be ready to fulfill that promise if he comes back. We're asking Allah for something that maybe we're not ready for. And it's better for us not to ask if you're not ready for it. Because if it comes, it's going to be a huge knock on our character and our faith. Because then we don't have any chance to improve. It's like the people of Kufa. When they invited Imam Hussein to come, until Imam Hussein did not come there, they were safe. They were safe. They had no obligation. But when Allah did his part of the deal and sent Imam Hussein there, now these people are in trouble. Now these people are like, okay, now Imam Hussein is here, and Allah answered their call and fulfilled his part of the deal. Now it was turn for them to fulfill their part of the deal, and they didn't. They did not. And so what happens? This is how it happens, my friends, that they lost. It was hard for them. It's better that the Imam's not here right now, because it's still we have the chance to see, am I up to that level where I can defend the Imam? Because if I'm asking Allah to send him back, I need to be ready. I need to be ready. We made a commitment with Imam Hussein. Every week we do that when we read Ziyarat-e-Waritha. Read Ziyarat-e-Waritha, what commitment we make? He says, these two lines are the commitment. Qalbi liqalbikum silm wa amri liamrikum muttabi. Read these two lines in Ziyarat-e-Waritha. This is the line of commitment we are saying, our promise that our hearts are one with your heart. Meaning what you like is what we like. And what you command is what we do. Meaning that whatever you have commanded and whatever you have liked, then we also like the same thing. We also follow the same thing. So it is a commitment we are making to Imam Hussein. That Imam Hussein, you died and our job is to bring the people towards you. I am doing that job. I am fulfilling that commitment that I have made. This is something, that we need to look at and see how we can judge ourselves. Allah speaks about those people, for example, who make the oath of giving charity. This is in the ayat of the Quran, and we see this, a lot of people do this. We do it all the time. He says, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ آهَدَ اللَّهِ لَإِنْ آتَانَا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ لَنَصَدَّقَنَّ لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. He says, and there are those of them, people, who make a pledge with Allah, who make a covenant with Allah, that if Allah gives us out of His grace, then we will give sadaqah and charity to the poor, and we'll help the poor, and that we will be righteous and we'll be good people if only we had money. If we can get out of this poor situation we're in. We're not poor, we're middle class. But if Allah can make us elite class and give us a lot of money, then you will see how righteous we are and how good we are and how much we will help the people. Oh, I love to help the poor people. Let me do that. So Allah says, فَلَمَّا أَتَاهُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِ. And when Allah gave them out of His grace, بَخِلُوا. These people turned back, became stingy all of a sudden. All of a sudden, that's it. They turned back. What happened? You made a promise you're going to give to the poor, and now you have the money and you have poor people in your community who are unable to pay their rents or keep up in their community, and you avoid them like the coronavirus. That is how you deal with your commitments? No wonder our characters are failing. This is Allah showing us the examples. Now, if we are weak, there's ways to grow now. Make a vow with Allah and nadhr. That's why nadhr is made. Nadhr is not made because we want something. Nadhr is made to build character. This is the process of building character. You make a nadhr, you make a vow, a pledge, a commitment with Allah, and fulfill it so you can build your character. You can raise yourself up. My friends, that is the purpose of nazar. That is why we are making nazar. It is a process of building character. It is a process of how we make ourselves stronger. So this is honesty with Allah. Keep that in mind, because we want to make sure that we are straight with Allah. No matter what level you are, it doesn't matter. You might be at the lowest level, but there's ways of building it up. At least be honest where you are, and from there we start to begin doing the things that you're supposed to do, making commitments with Allah and keeping them while you're here. Whatever small things that you can do, make those commitments, and then you will see that as you start building yourself up, you will see yourself as a different person. May Allah bless you all. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for your marhumin and the shuhada of Islam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.